everyone. Welcome to another edition of Independent Artists Unite Song Series, a special show today. We're celebrating the new Chronic Dream album by having David from Chronic Dream and a vocalist that appears throughout the album, Yelma from April Afternoon and the Dark Wave. And actually, we too have the most songs on there too. So,
Yep.
screw the other guys. And yeah, there was some promise of some other people coming, but Yelmer and I are in the morning, and the U.S. people are in the middle of the night. So it's understandable, if everybody being a rock star too. Sometimes you just imbibe and snort a little too much. But let's start with you, David.
Okay.
Tell us a little bit about your your start also as a synthesizer, as a keyboardist, because now it's cool to be a keyboardist, but when I was a kid, the cool guys were the guitarists, and the keyboardist was always like a little strange and more of a scientist.
Yeah.
And then talk about how the idea for Chronic Dream came together.
Yeah, I mean, that's for sure. I mean, when I was in Scarlet back in the 90s, in the early 90s, to mid 90s, being a keyboardist was kind of like, people were kind of like, we want all guitars. So, yeah, I started, I, I started getting piano lessons when I was younger. I don't know if I've mentioned this before,
No, I don't think so.
but my mom forced me to learn to play piano, which I'm grateful for. And and then that just led to different things happening. Like a friend of mine got me into post punk alternative, like the Smiths, Echo and the Bunnymen, in 1987, and that changed everything for me when I heard all that. Because I grew up listening to you know some K rock, but most of the stuff I heard was like Billy Idol, Michael
Mhm.
Jackson, stuff like that. So this is stuff that was, back then that was like a lot of that was imported. It wasn't available in the US. So we had to, like The Cure and Echo and the Bunnymen, a lot of that stuff I had to order and they had to ship it in. Not all of it, but some of it. So it really opened my eyes and just changed the way it made me want to be in a band. So in 1992, I got my first keyboard, my Korg, and that's I started learning how to write music, and then I got Scarlet going in 1993. Left them in
And now,
97.
now it's cool again to have a chord.
Oh yeah, I it was a workstation, so I could record everything in the keyboard. It was
Oh,
really
nice. I
nice.
remember those. Yeah.
Yeah. And my father got that for me, so that really, I'll always be grateful for my dad for getting that for me.
That's cool.
And then in 1996, I left Scarlet and pursued music in other areas, film, my own music. And then I took a hiatus for like 15 years, came back and didn't know what I wanted to do. So I wanted to figure out a project name, sort of like what Nine Inch Nails with, you know, something that was just me, but wasn't me.
Mm.
And so I tried to figure out a name that when you search for it, there wasn't 20 chronic dreams didn't pop up. So chronic dream was the one. Nobody had that name. I liked it, so it was perfect. And
Yeah, that's a great name.
so I did that, and I started in 2021. um I already had some songs in the pipe in 2020. um so but 2021 is when I released my first single and kind of progressed from there to where like I discussed with you in previous interviews. You helped me with the idea of getting guest singers. You were my first one, and I wanted to always have a singer that was more permanent, somebody that I could collaborate with really well.
Mm.
So that it was like a two purpose thing. It was like I could work with different singers, and at the same time, it was almost like a tryout for hopefully if they liked me too, they would work and we could sing. So and luckily, Yalmer decided that he would he would work. He liked my music enough.
Add
So
add to his list of projects.
yeah, and
I
and
guess so, yeah.
just so you guys know too, with this album being out, I've had a lot of time. I have about 5 to 6 songs in the pipe right now that I'm working on.
Oh
So,
wow.
so hopefully, at least I think at least 3 of them, will like, and it'll work out well. So,
I'm very curious. And I was just also like wondering, how did you two meet up actually? Because the first song was Untrue, right? That you did together for the project. How did you meet up?
it's so strange that
I think it was
I
through the Tokyo Teens, through Jimmy, that
yeah,
I think he told me about you. He actually, when I first got on Instagram, he was like my first, you know, online friend, and he
right.
would send me stuff all the time, It might have been that.
Yeah, I honestly, it's a little bit hazy, but I believe, yeah, Jimmy was the first person that actually just, I don't know if I randomly started talking to him or how it happened, but yeah, he was the first one I started talking to, and he introduced me to you, and then you introduced me to James, and it's just kind of like a domino effect.
Hmm.
And then James introduced me to Yelmer. So it's kind of like, I ended
Actually,
up growing this network.
Jimmy, who promised he'd be here today, but he had a gig last night, so maybe it was that. But he actually used to do Instagram lives interviews with people. I don't know if you remember that. So
I
I
do.
I ripped off the whole idea for the show from him. I actually wrote to him
All
and
right.
said, "Hey, do you mind if I do this?" And he was like, "Fuck." Go for it. But
Cool.
Yelmer, I just wanted to say that you are truly one of my favorite vocalists. I love the melodies you write. I love the like. I'm always like, I'm always like pleasantly surprised by the layering of background vocals as well. And you
Absolutely.
and you and you also
Hmm.
do like you don't just always stick to one melody. There's a progression throughout the song. Where you do different things and yeah. So I just like always. It's like just relax and enjoy when something's going to be good even before you listen to it.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Yeah, that means a lot. Yeah, so like melody wise, I think I always enjoyed working with multiple vocal layers, I guess. Um, Sometimes, when I started singing for the dark wave, there were a couple of them were like, it's not so common in new wave to have a lot of these vocal layers. So I
Mm,
started wondering, so, where do I get the influence from? And it might be that, I mean, I listened to a lot of like twee pop bands. I don't know if that made sense, like C86 bands.
mm.
Like in the late 1980s, you had bands like The Primitives or Transvision Vamp and
Oh
stuff like
yeah.
that. They were all like girls with blonde hair singing and a lot of like these vocal melody things.
Mm,
I think maybe it started there, that my influences in, yeah, like the vocal layers. And I always
mm,
like to have it built up in a song. And yeah, so it goes like it actually goes somewhere. Like you start maybe a little bit smaller, and then you're building up to this high, big end, I guess. And
yeah.
yeah, so thank you that you enjoy that. That's what I do it for.
Yeah, I also was thinking about that recently because I love background vocals and everything too. And I
Oh yeah,
realized I used to listen to this is before your time, Yummer, but oh well, it's also a US thing, but maybe you'll remember, David. But
maybe I know, and I
when
don't
I
know.
when I got in the car with my parents, it was AM radio, like the
Mhm.
pop songs of like the 70s and stuff. And I actually put together a playlist recently on Spotify that was just AM radio hits from the 70s. And those are like the background vocals. Actually, I wanted to experiment with because the background vocals often come in louder than the lead vocal, you know,
Yeah.
which is an interesting you
Oh,
know,
yeah, 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 yeah.
interesting mixing strategy because it just makes you
Yeah.
go, whoa, the chorus, you know? It's like the
Yeah.
chorus just goes in your face, you know?
Yeah. It's almost a little bit like 70s, or like 70s, or maybe 60s even, like the Byrds
Yes, in the
and
60s
things
there were a
like
lot
that.
of yeah, there were a lot
Yeah.
of different
Mamas
yeah,
and the
well that
Papas.
was before my time. Thank heaven
Yeah, I understand. I
thank heaven something is
understand.
I was going to say this earlier because I had forgotten about it, but Yelmer's style of vocals reminds me so much of Bolin from T Rex.
mm,
It's very
Oh,
like if you
yeah,
listen to a
that's
lot
in
of
there.
T
That's in
Rex,
there too, yeah.
yeah, if you listen to T Rex, there's a lot of like background harmonies with his vocals, and it's very similar. And I like that. I like
yeah.
that. I like that you do that. I like the fact that you it's something that I feel like it's not necessarily dead. A lot of artists still do it, but it's something you don't hear very often anymore where you have the harmony along with the main vocals. Like what the Eagles did a lot. The Eagles did that a lot. They had a lot of harmonies and then the background going along with the main vocals. And you
Yeah,
just don't hear that as often anymore. And
actually
I like that.
also
Thanks.
once in a while at the end of a line, you do the quick vibrato that Mark Bolan did too,
Yes.
which was unique. Yeah,
Ah.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I always think of like Adam and the Ants, Adam Ant a little bit with you too, and like because
Yeah. Yeah.
I really because since I lived through like new wave and then grunge, it was like because I've always had also this kind of smooth vocal, like a crooning kind of thing, which was not cool in grunge. So I was
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
trying
Yeah.
to like husk up my voice in grunge, and I did screams
Yeah.
like Chris Cornell, but they were
It's
like
totally different than
they
what you
were they
made
weren't they
today.
weren't they weren't those like dirty screams like Chris Cornell. They ended up being more like Andrea Bocelli, something. And now I'm like,
Yeah.
finally, I'm comfortable again, with my voice just being the way it is. But it's always a
Amazing.
process,
Yeah.
isn't it? Finding your own voice. That can't be understated.
I think it's hard. Yeah. As for me, I've been listening to like British musical bands from a very early age. So that
Mm,
started with, like the Libertines and the Baby Shambles, and then I dug a little deeper into like musical history, and then it became like punk bands, new wave bands. Um, a lot of also like classic rock. I listened to it when I was very young.
mm.
But usually it's like bands from the UK that I listen to. Also a big fan of Factory Records, like this whole story from Manchester. So I think, yeah, it makes sense that there's a lot of influences like Adam Ant, for instance, and I don't really listen to T-Rex that much. I should listen to it more, I guess. I'm very interested in what you were just saying. So yeah, but like from all around the era, like from the 1960s till until the 19 like until now, so it's a whole variety. And I think if you listen to those like artists, or whatever you listen to, if you listen to it for a very long time, you start to like copy things in it, and it feels
Mm.
like natural for you, but you're actually like copying what you've heard. I mean, in a way, we're all like AI, of course, like it's you're listening to things, and that makes it like the natural thing for you. So I don't know.
Yeah, but it's
If you
interesting. Oh, go ahead.
well, I was just gonna say T Rex has influenced a lot of bands that
Oh yeah.
we have listened to, like for the Smiths, for example. Like if you listen to
Mhm.
the song
Yeah.
Panic, the song Panic is actually taken from the song Metal Guru from T Rex. If you listen to
Seriously?
Metal Guru, it's like the same. The music is almost exactly the same. And basically, Morrissey went to Johnny Marr and said, "I love this song. I want a song like this." And so Johnny Marr wrote "Panic" by this, and then they're almost exactly
Ah,
the same.
Actually, it
Yeah,
could be
I will
a
look that
T-Rex
up.
song that could be a Smith song too. Is "Girl" off Electric Warrior. I don't know if you know that
possible.
one, but that could be a Smith song.
It's
But too,
possible.
I think I was just thinking,
Interesting.
Yelmer. It's also like not only being influenced by vocals, but also like catchy, almost pop vocals. Like I was. Oh, by the way, James and I are planning to cover a T-Rex song. I won't say what, but we've decided to do a series of covers because we're
Cool.
having so much fun with it.
Oh,
But
nice.
yeah, but it's also being influenced by yeah, the melodies, melodies like catchy melodies. It's all
I
my
think we
favorite bands
generally,
had that, I think.
yeah, yeah. Well, if I make something myself, like a musical structure or something with vocals, it always has to be a little bit catchy because I
Yeah.
don't want to bore myself. And I think we we also kind of like did that with the two Chronic Dreams songs I worked together with.
Mm,
It might have worked best on Wide Awake, which is a very, very catchy poppy song.
yeah,
Grim
it's so
Reaper was a
good.
little more introvert. I don't know. I both like the songs, but there's also like Wide Awake, which is the opening song for the album. David and of course James.
Yeah,
They
Yama
they
got the
go.
opening song. Son of a bitch.
Oh, I'm so sorry. They sent me a very, very up-tempo, very catchy MP3 track already. So they
Mm,
made it easier for me to add some vocals there, I guess.
Well, the interesting thing about that song compared to all the other ones I've written is that one is the musically, that's the one that almost hasn't changed at all. I
mm,
mean, James almost didn't have to do anything to it, really. I mean, he did a few things, but for the most part, compared to the
Yeah.
other ones he added quite a bit, changed some of the things.
Oh yeah.
That one and Ashes are the two that he didn't have to do a lot. The melodies are pretty much exactly what I wrote in the demo before I
nice.
sent it
Like
to him.
if it works, then it works. Like if it's really
Right.
simple, then it can just be so easy to work. I remember
Right.
that James added the bridge to Wide Awake.
Yes.
He did that
Yes, he
like
did.
in an hour or so. That was
Oh
pretty
yeah.
amazing.
That was brilliant. I mean, I came up with the bridge, but it just wasn't working, and he brought his A game for that for sure.
Yeah, sometimes you
So
need a few more airs, to
yeah,
wrap it up. Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
he's so good at that though. I'm in, yeah, in songs that I've written, he's come up with a bridge quite a few times.
yeah. Yeah. I've
Bridge
always
guy.
I was just talking to James about this, and that's like a couple of things I've had when it comes to writing music. The two things I've had the hardest time with is doing a bass line for my songs,
Mm,
um,
Well,
composing a bass for it, and also coming up with bridges. I've always had issues with that. Um,
mm,
I've improved a lot, but I mean, it's something I've always, and I think that created a lot of insecurity in my early years, where I didn't want to work on music alone. I had to collaborate with somebody
mm.
because I felt like I couldn't complete a song without help. And, you know, that was during Scarlet and sometime after that. But recently since I've gotten a little bit better, I've gotten more secure with that.
It's
So,
interesting, the way songwriting is different for everyone because I always start with the bass. It's like it never
right.
fails. I always start with even before I put a beat down,
Mhm.
which is
Yeah, I
yeah,
find
for
it
me as
I don't
well.
know
easier.
if
Yeah.
that's strange or not, but.
Well, I mixed it up lately. With my new songs before, whenever I would write a song, it, I always ended up coming up with the melody first, the hook,
Mm,
the
Oh,
chords. And I
yeah.
kind of felt like that kind of brought me to a dead end where I like I didn't know where to go from there. I didn't know what to add to it. And now I'm kind of with the new stuff I'm working on, I'm doing it in reverse. I'm doing the drums first, adding the bass, and then going from there. And it's so far I'm very satisfied with what I'm doing.
Mm.
So
Oh, I was thinking, Yelma, when you were talking about how easy it was to write Wide Awake because it was like everything was there. I felt the same way
mm.
about Untrue because I remember
Ah,
David sent it, and I was getting on the bus again, which is much cooler in Copenhagen. But I
yeah.
was going. I was a a helper for this kid that was in a electric wheelchair that had cerebral palsy that was particularly bad, and but he liked to just zone out and listen to music and stuff in his room. And so I listened on the bus, had an idea, and then when I got there, he was just hanging out. No one else was in the house. So I went into the living room and recorded the vocal on GarageBand in his living room because it came so fast, because there was just a nice bed of chords and melodies to key off of. So that one also came super fast.
Yeah. If you have the inspiration, don't wait for it to
Yeah.
record it.
I mean, for me, I
It
have to
happened to
say
you
it has to
before,
be like
right?
that. Yeah. Well, it's
That
usually
happened to you
like that.
before, right? That you were in like public transport and you had a sort of melody in your head and you started to like record it on your phone so you didn't lose it.
Yeah, yeah. But it
You,
often
you told
happens
me
fast
something
like
about that.
that because I feel like the best songs are like that. If I have to work too hard on it, I'm just like, no, it's not. I'm not in the flow.
Yeah, yeah,
I,
yeah.
I find
But
it's best to
if
step away. You step away from it if you can't figure something out. I usually put it aside and forget about it for a few days and go back to it.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
it's amazing too if you can, because I've had that experience too where I'm I'm fiddling around with something and I abandon it and think this is shit, and then the next morning I'm like, ooh, cool, you know.
yeah.
Yeah, I think
But I wanted to say something about the missing vocalist here, because I love Ashes too because it's actually something unusual for Kid Barrett to do. So I could see he was just really keyed into the idea too, and just did something different than he usually does.
and I
Can I tell you a
appreciate
little
and I
a little something?
Oh yeah.
Um, I was influenced by Ashes for Wide Awake
Oh,
because
interesting.
like the chorus in Ashes, it really has these long vocals. And I thought that when I received the track for Wide Awake, it should have something like that as well. So I was directly influenced by Ashes.
Oh, I should
wow.
tell the story before I forget. Oh, by the way, we tried to do this show 2 weeks ago, and I had technical difficulties, so we've had to regroup. But I wanted to tell the story again about receiving the music to the simple things because I also got hit with that right away. But life being my rocky life being what it was, I was in the psych ward at the time, and
Yeah.
and it was loud and people could come in your room. It wasn't like locked, so nurses came in to check on you, especially on me. But
Oh.
so I went into the bathroom and put this comforter over my head to soak up the sound. But I just started sweating my ass off in there. Actually, is what I realized too is that when you start sweating your ass off, your vocal cords also get warm. Um, but yeah, so
Okay.
I recorded that vocal in the bathroom of a psych ward with a comforter over my head.
That's amazing.
So that was
From the heart.
oh, I also wanted the comforter too because I didn't want to. James is never happy with room reverb or something like that. He wants
Oh
like a
yeah.
dry vocal, so that also soaked that up. But too, I wanted to mention Jimmy because he also did a really amazing vocal on that song too, which is a little bit different uh, from the other ones. And actually, they're all really different. So I really enjoyed. It's quite something to listen to the whole album all together too, and realize that all this work has gone into it from all these geographical areas and songwriters. It's it must feel good to you, David.
Yeah, Middle of the Night uh, is probably my own personal favorite as far as
Hey.
the as far as
Beautiful
far as
song. Yeah.
the hook in it
Yeah.
is extremely simple, but for me it just came out of nowhere. It just actually shortened. It was actually a bit longer, the hook was, but and I thought it was perfect, even though it was so simple. It was like two notes, and
Yeah.
it worked so well.
He
Um,
also usually I feel like Jimmy did some different things. I always pick up like when people do different things with like the end line of the melody. A lot of
mhm,
people go down, before the
right,
chorus and stuff like that. And he made a lot of different like decisions with that melody, and I was like, that's cool.
right, right. And um, I think the other song, the simple things that you worked on, um, is for me the whole mood of it is great. It's not
Mm,
it's not as upbeat as the other ones, but I like that. It really when I originally wrote it, I wrote it as an instrumental,
mm.
and it just I wanted vocals to it, but I couldn't. Nothing seemed to work, so I didn't know who would do well with it, and it just hit me like a ton of bricks that you would be perfect for that because of the whole mood of the song. It was a perfect match.
Yeah, that it
Um,
was it was too I remember when I got the music and then my vocal idea, I felt like it was one of those vocals that felt very vulnerable and naked, you know, like it's doing its own thing over the music. And I always think of those moments like, oh shit, the vocals out here with no safety net. You know. But also I want to mention Kenton Holmes. There's another missing guest here because we only have a minute left, actually, believe it or not,
wow.
that did the solo on Simple Things. And it's just so tasteful and so beautiful. And we were waiting around for this solo because he had different things going on. And I'm always like worried about a guest soloist that is going to be too noodly,
Right.
too solo-y. Yeah, but it was just like a classic power lead that he did that just like took the song uh, to a new level. Uh,
Yeah, I
I,
knew that I had every confidence that he would do a great job on that.